Namaste everyone, welcome to Thinking Bridges podcast. And in today's video, we have with us CA Harsha Vardhan. So Harsha Vardhan is a chartered accountant and he is recently selected in Deloitte USI branch in the statutory audit department. Harsha has had multiple failures in his life, but every time he stood back and fought for what was his dream from the beginning, that is becoming a chartered accountant. So let's get started. Let's hear straight from the horse's mouth. How was his journey? What all ups and downs he had to go through? If I'm not wrong, it took around total 10 attempts for him to clear CA. Lot more to discover in this entire conversation, and I'm really excited to hear from Harsha. Harsha, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you, ma'am. I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me here.
Right. So, Harsha, I want to start right from the beginning. Why CA? How did CA happen to Harsha?
Right. When, the decision of taking a career comes at the end of 10th examinations to which career path you have to choose. And when it comes to me, I was a bit, not interested in physics subject. I do got good marks in 10th, but I wasn't so interested in physics. And so when I explored some career options, commerce was the best suited for me because I was good in maths, not in biological science and all those subjects. So commerce was right for me. So I have opted for commerce. And then I came to know about the chartered accountancy profession. And so I took MEC group as my intermediate, and I have taken up this CA course. After intermediate, I have written my CA, CPT exam, common proficiency test. It was not a big hurdle when I was writing that exam. I have cleared it with the colorful marks. So I thought, many of us says CA is a tough subject. It would take so much time to clear it. And after writing my CA foundation examinations, I thought maybe it was not as tough as they say. And, I was so happy that I cleared with good marks in foundation examination. So when it comes to IPCC, the first failure comes into my life. The first failure where we see the marks list, all the marks and all. It was a big disappointment in my life that failed the first failure which we get. And I have written my second attempt also, and that was also a failure for me. I haven't gotten an aggregate in clearing in any of the groups. I haven't cleared it. So in my third attempt of IPCC, I have only given my single group. At that point of time, the pressure from the society, the friends who have cleared earlier than me, they all have gone to articleship, and I was the one in my hometown still studying IPCC, writing examinations, and there was some pressure from my family to to look into other alternatives other than CA. So there was a time where I felt really disappointed, and I thought of, if this third attempt doesn't go well, then I have to look into other options too. I haven't had a thought of dropping the CA itself, but to look into other options. But then luckily I got cleared my group in third attempt. Group 1 in IPCC was cleared. So it was a little boost for me to go on with the CA journey. I had a the feeling like I do have a dream of doing my articleship in Big Four, and there was the market demand, like the Big Fours will only take only both groups cleared students, and they may not even consider with the number of attempt candidates. So due to that, I also have developed some inferiority complex in me during that time, that I didn't even dare to apply for the articleship in Big Four. So and in my fourth attempt, I couldn't clear my second group of IPCC, so I joined an articleship based on Group 1 in a mid-sized firm in Hyderabad, and Manohar Chaudhary and Associates, and I cleared my second group in the sixth attempt while doing my articleship, along with my articleship. When I say articleship in mid-sized firm, I wouldn't say it was bad, I wouldn't say it was excellent, but it gave me an overall perspective of every domain. Like I have undergone some statutory audit works, tax works, GST works, and a little bit of internal audit too. The firm was like, whoever the student is vacant, allot him the work. Whatever the work is available, you just allot him. The mentality in my office was that. So it gave me an advantage. So I could explore more domains during my articleship. So I wouldn't say it was bad. It was good. The articleship experience was good, and I enjoyed a lot. And comes the final preparation time after completion of my articleship. We will take, generally the students in horticulture take classes in third year of horticulture, like a morning one class, 5:30 to 7:30, 9:30, and evening 6:30 to 9:30,
Mm.
where at morning times we be feeling very drowsy, so
Mm.
we may not be able to understand the classes properly. At least it was that for me that
Oh,
time.
it was with me as
Drowsiness
well.
was so, the conceptual clarity of some topics might have been missed during those classes while I was preparing. While I was taking classes, I missed some days to attend. And at times in evening classes, our manager would not send us to the classes, due to some work that has come up immediately. So I've missed few classes in the morning times also. We have missed few classes. And so, the for clearing CA final examinations, the number one important requirement is that before starting our preparation, revision preparation, we should be having a full conceptual knowledge of the subject, which I was lacking in my first attempt in few subjects. And I haven't taken some coaching classes for one or two subjects also. So my first attempt in CFNL was a disaster for me. The failure was not so shocking for me because I know I haven't prepared well, and I also had a bitter experience in my intermediate. So the failure marks was not as a biggest shock when I felt in IPCC. It was like, oh, I have already experienced the failure, so it was not that a shock for me. And later, due to some financial, family problems, I have to, come out of this CA track, and I was involved in my brother's business for 1.5 years or so. And after the COVID came, and then in January 2021, I kickstarted my preparation for final examinations, and I cleared Group 2 in January 2021. And
Mm.
then the new syllabus comes into play, and I was an old syllabus student.
Mm.
New syllabus comes into play, and I have to shift it to the new syllabus, where
Oh.
for Group 1, the FR subject was completely different. So
Mm.
I have taken some few coaching classes for FR and also SFM subject. So I couldn't write my November 2021 attempt. So I have written my Group 1 examinations in May 2022. I lost it in aggregate. And again in November 2022, recently, I cleared my Group 1 examinations. So basically, I completed my CA in November 2022. It took me a long journey when compared to my friends too. So
Mm.
it was a long journey. There were so many ups and downs. But one main thing that keeps me motivated, that kept me motivated in during the CA journey was the support from my family. So whenever I got a failure, my family suggested me to look into the alternatives other than CA, but they never discouraged me to writing CA examinations. They always encouraged me, and they kept on, motivating me and writing for the CA examination. So that was a huge bless for me. I was able to clear it, even though it was late. I have cleared it, so I'm very happy.
That's amazing, Harsha. That's like such a comprehensive, and I was personally, I was personally relating to it because having failed in CA final, every other student in CA has failed at some or the other point, right? I mean, obviously there are exceptions, but yeah, it was such a wonderful, journey that you it was such a wonderful journey that you have gone through, and definitely an inspiration for so many out there that if you have your family support, you definitely can crack everything. Definitely you will face pressure, you'll feel FOMO at some point when you see that your
Yeah,
friends
yes,
are.
yeah, definitely. I felt that more when I was in my IPCC and at early stages of my CFNL examinations too. Whenever we open the Instagram account, we will see so many photos of our friends, photos with getting the outing trip from the office, and all those photos we will see. We will compare our lives with them, and we will see they are enjoying their life, and I'm sitting with my book in front of me studying for final examinations. What is this? My life is going on. That kind of feeling was big. I really felt it, and I even uninstalled the app itself, not to get disappointed and depressed to seeing that all this.
Yeah, it's actually such a nice suggestion that you've given. In fact, we also suggest everybody to shut off their social media accounts because it can be depressing. You are
Yeah,
living a completely different life, that person is living a completely different life, so it becomes unreasonable for you to experience two separate lives. But at the same time, yeah, you did the right thing and we can see the results, so congratulations once again.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Right. So now let's talk about this entire experience of selection in Deloitte USI for statutory audit. I want to specifically talk about, like you mentioned, that you personally had fear that I will not apply only if I fail. Like Big Fours won't hire someone who is having multiple attempts in their CA, right? So definitely you had to cross that barrier, know that I should apply at least. Tell me about the entire experience of how did you gain that confidence, and how did you how did you go about applying to different firms?
Yeah, basically before starting for searching for the job, I have taken this interview preparation program from Thinking Bridge, and you, ma'am, and Archit sir really gave me some insights on how to prepare a resume, how to be involved in the group discussions, how to maintain the LinkedIn account, and have it in professional way, and and have given a perspective of what kind of domains a chartered accountant has to explore into, and how to move in. All those insights were very useful, and I specifically there was a one-on-one interaction which was very beneficial in this program, which I felt like it was a live program and we had one-on-one discussions. So when I asked Archit sir about this, that I do have such a fear that I have these many attempts count to my tag, so how can I proceed further? So sir has given me very confident that there are so many students who have gotten into big fours even having multiple attempts. It's just that you need to showcase your talent and your technical knowledge that really gets on with you in the interview. So with that as a base, and with some preparations which is with some preparations of technical questions and all the aspects which I have learned from the interview preparation class, I have applied for big fours. So I would be frank, for the big four Indian firms, I wasn't shortlisted for those things, but for the offshore accounts, I got shortlisted. The only, the attempts do matter only while selecting while shortlisting of the resume. Once the resume has been shortlisted and we are selected for attending the interview, then the interviewers won't focus on how many attempts it took and why it was taken so many attempts. They haven't focused on those questions with me. Just the HR who was initially trying to shortlist my resume, only the HR has asked me about the number of attempts that I took. That's all. Once my resume, I explained her. I took me 5 attempts, and there was a time gap of 2 years for my articleship and CA final clearance. And I explained that, and she has shortlisted my resume. And then the technical round was being conducted for me, and in the technical round also they haven't specifically focused on the number of attempts, but they focused on my technical skills and what kind of articleship experience I gained, and questions were also based on those. It was like 60% is based on my articleship experience and 40% is based on technical questions that are related to the job profile.
Right.
Once the technical round got cleared, there was a Versan test in the Deloitte USI, and again after the Versan test there was partners round. In the partners round, it was not much of a technical round, but general questions were asked for me. And after that, I got a mail saying that you have all cleared your interview rounds, and we are happy that you are welcoming you to Deloitte your side. And
That's
other
amazing.
formalities have been got. Yeah.
So Harsha will be joining very soon on 4th of April. How excited are you, Harsha?
I'm thrilled. I'm so excited.
Right. So Harsha is also one of the students of Audit Masterclass. Harsha, I specifically want to ask, do you think the knowledge that you gained in the Audit Masterclass, was it helpful during the interview?
It was, ma'am, because in this statutory audit profile, the main questions that they have stressed on were how do you audit some new P&L account and balance sheet items. The entire masterclass was revolving around those aspects itself. So Archit sir has taken every aspect of the P&L and balance sheet item, and he has explained in detail, theoretically and in a practical way, how you do an audit. For example, if it is for fixed assets, how you do an audit of fixed assets, how you do an audit of expenses, how do you audit payroll. All these points were being theoretically explained, and some work papers have been provided in the course, which we can practice too. So theory plus practical experience was being placed in the masterclass. It was, I would say, structurally designed too. So it really helped me. And it also helped me in brushing up my experience in my articleship. What I have did it also has brushed up my concepts which I have practically gained in my articleship. So I would say it was beneficial for me. And due to my profile itself is also a statutory audit profile, so it really helped me a lot.
Right. Amazing. I want to talk about the questions. Obviously, I mean, it's been a while since you appeared for the interview, but do you remember any technical questions that people who are watching can refer to if they are also preparing for their interview at Deloitte or for the Start Audit profile?
Yeah, in regard to me, the questions which were asked were the audit assertions with respect to P&L and balance sheet items. And one question was, what do you mean by debt covenant? And they have asked some accounting standards. I have personally engaged in inventory calculations and all those things. So he has asked me in India accounting standards with respect to inventories and also standards with respect to revenue. Those were mainly the technical questions that they have asked me. So not much in detailed also, but they just want to, understand whether the candidate can do the work related to audit assertions, audit of balance sheet items and all. And a little bit of accounting standards were also been tested.
Right.
I would like to share a funny experience which I had. I wouldn't say it funny, but in my technical round, the two people have interviewed me, and around 10 questions were being asked for me. And there was one basic question: what do journal entry for provision for bad debts? That was a basic question which we would be learning in our 12th standard. And I was stupid enough to not able to answer that question firstly. I thought I thought the opportunity has been lost by me because that was the basic question which we need to answer. So I thought I couldn't answer it. I answered it wrongly first, and then I corrected. They helped. They reframed the question again and asked. So later on, I gave the correct answer, but just giving the wrong question for the basic, giving the wrong answer for the basic question, I thought I lost the opportunity. But luckily, they moved my resume to the next round. So I thought, thank God.
Right, actually. Any questions from the HR round, generic questions that you remember? Questions like, I mean, the ones that we prepared in our interview masterclass as well. Why CA and why Deloitte? Any questions that you remember?
Yeah, during my interview, there was no particular HR round per se. These generic questions were asked in the partners round itself. The HR haven't specifically taken a HR round separately with respect to my candidature. So yeah, they asked why CA, why auditing and not accounting. That kind of questions. And one more question was, what is the important characteristic that a CA should possess? Those
What
type
was
of
your
questions
answer?
Yeah, I said that since the chartered accountant is the financial doctor of the economy, we have to be very professionally skeptical while doing the audit. Like that, I have answered.
Right. So, Harsha, this brings us to the end of this interview, this podcast. Thank you so much for doing this. But before signing off, I'd like you to share two learnings, one for CA journey and the other one for someone who's preparing for their interview. So share two learnings that you would share with your peers or for anybody who's in their CA or for anybody who's preparing for their interviews.
Yes, ma'am. I give one suggestion for CA article students. We do 2.5 years of extensive articleship work in a firm. So one thing I thought I was doing wrong was I haven't maintained any audit diary. Writing down the important issues which we have faced and how the issue has been solved. I haven't jotted down those things in any separate document. So it felt really difficult for me while preparing the resume. What kind of challenges I faced and what kind of audits I have done, what was the turnover of the company which I was involved in. I do remember at the completion time, but I do had a gap, so much gap while preparing my resume. So I have forgotten all the details. As you said in the resume, we have to show the numeric numbers. If we have done an ITRs for around 20 clients, you said to specifically mention in the resume that I have prepared ITRs. I have prepared 20 plus ITRs with having a total income of 5 crores, 10 crores. The numbers must be specifically mentioned in the resume. You have said in the interview class, but I couldn't even recall how much turnover individuals I have done that audit. I do remember vaguely, but not in particular. So I would suggest that those who are doing articleship kindly write down all the important aspects which you do in your articleship. It would be really, really helpful while preparing your resume. And even so, in every interview, the interviewer will ask what kind of challenges did you face in your articleship regarding technicalities or any physical, I mean, work per se challenges, and how did you overcome it? How did you face particular issue which you have? Those type of questions are generally definitely will be asked in the interview. So it would be helpful for us to recall all the aspects which we have undergone in our articleship. So maintaining an audit diary is a must, which I have failed to do it, and I faced a problem. So I would suggest everyone who is watching this video, who is doing articleship, to maintain such a book. It would be really helpful. And when it comes to interview preparation, generally, I wouldn't say all of them, but generally, it was applicable. I did in my case. Once we complete our CA final examinations until the result date, we would consider it as 1.5 period as a honeymoon period where we throw off the books aside and we just waste the time and do stupid things. But I would suggest not to do it. At least half a day we have to set aside to to revise and scrub through the subjects we have prepared in our CA final examinations, because those are the only questions that we need to prepare for our interviews. In the interview, we have to revise all the standards, accounting standards, auditing standards, DT provisions, GST provisions, based on the profile which we go. The questions which we studied in our final exam itself is being questioned, which is being tested in the interview preparation, in interviews. So instead of revising the concepts after getting results and before going to the interview, if we do it in that 2 months period, then it would be really helpful for us, and we would be so relaxed while giving the interview. Because the one thing, when any person who is attending the interview will get confidence, the candidate will get confidence only when he possesses two things. Number one, good communication skills, and one, sound technical knowledge. If these two things are lacking, then we will get a fear of attending an interview. So I would suggest, even if you are not sure whether you are going to clear examinations, or if you are damn sure that you will clear the attempt, it's suggested that to start preparing for the interview after writing examinations only, and not wasting the time. That 2 months period itself is what makes stand out from other students who have not started the preparation. We will be well prepared in advance for interviews, rather than starting preparation for interviews after the results have been announced. So that time would be very useful for us. Luckily, I took this interview preparation class from Thinking Bridge before the results. So I was well in advance in preparing my resume and all, and all those other aspects regarding the interview. So it really helped me. At least it gave me a base from where I have to start, where I have to look, what are the aspects where I have to upskill myself for preparing the interview. All those things have been, it was like a mind-opening session for me. I would say not to waste that time.
These were one of the best advices I've heard from people I do podcasts with. So especially that maintaining an audit diary, or maintaining any sort of diary for whatever work you're doing, that was totally on point, because it's so important to mention those measurable results in your resume. It's definitely going to boost your profile. So amazing learning, Harsha. Thank you so much.
From my personal experience. I haven't maintained it, so I really literally felt so much difficulty while preparing for my resume. So
Chalo. Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this. And I really, really wish you all the best for your future endeavors. And I really wish to see you go far, far in your career. Thank you so much once again, Harsha.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for having me.